Okay, so the heart is quite a complicated organ, so we simplify it quite often by drawing it as a square or rectangle because it's a lot easier to understand if we look at it this way. The first thing to know is the heart has four chambers, okay? Four different chambers or compartments that the blood flows through. And I'm going to show you how it works or what they're called. So, four chambers, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first thing that we're going to add to our heart is where the blood is either going to go or come from. So some of the blood will come from the lungs, some of the blood will go to the lungs, some of the blood will come from the body, and some of the blood will go to the body. So there's two parts where it can come from or go to. And these are the different parts. So we have the left atrium and the left ventricle. And then on this side we have the right ventricle and the right atrium. And some of you might be thinking, well, Mr. Glover doesn't know his left and right. No, this isn't a mistake. So when we draw the heart, we do draw it the other way around, with the right on the left side and the left on the right side. The reason being is we're looking at the heart as if it was inside a body. So if I was a surgeon doing an operation on someone, I was looking straight down at the heart like I am now, the left-hand side of the person would actually be on my right-hand side as I look to it. So that's why the sides are flipped. Okay, really important, remember that left is right and right is left. The other thing that you need to get your head around is where the atrium and ventricles are different. And so the upper chambers, the ones at the top, they are both called atria. Atria and atrium are just the plural versions of each other, so one atrium, two atria. And then at the bottom of the heart, we have our ventricles, right and left ventricles. So right and left atria at the top, right and left ventricles at the bottom. In terms of how the blood flows, the blood always flows from the top of the heart downwards. So it goes from the atria to the ventricles on both sides. Those two sides go to different places though, because they carry different levels of oxygen in their blood. So the left-hand side, this is going to be pumping oxygenated blood. It's got oxygen, so it's carrying oxygenated blood. The right-hand side, this is going to pump deoxygenated blood. Okay, that's why we tend to use red and blue colours, just to show that. In terms of where they're going to go, is as follows. It's going to go from the lungs, and that's going to travel to the left atrium, and this is going to travel through something called the pulmonary vein. Okay, so from the lungs to the left atrium is a pulmonary vein. Then it's going to go down through to the left ventricle, and that's going to end up going to the body. And that particular blood vessel that carries the blood from the left ventricle to the body, that is called the aorta. Okay, so that's what that one is called. What then is going to happen is it's going to have to come back from the body. So all that blood that went to the body is now coming back, and it's coming back deoxygenated. That's why we've coloured it blue. And then that particular blood vessel is called the vena cava. So the vena cava is the blood vessel that brings the blood back into the heart from the body. And then we're going to pump out some blood from the right ventricle, and this time it's going to go to the lungs, and it's going to go there to get oxygen, and this blood vessel is called the pulmonary artery. Okay. Cool, I'll go through that one more time. So the lungs, they are going to have blood go from the lungs to the left atrium, and this is through something called the pulmonary vein. It then goes from left atrium to left ventricle, and then from the left ventricle, blood is going to be pumped out of the heart towards the body, and this is through a blood vessel called the aorta. Then, when it comes back from the body, it's going to come back deoxygenated, and it's going to come into the heart through the blood vessel called the vena cava, and this is going to enter the right atrium. Then it's going to go from the right atrium to the right ventricle, and then from that right ventricle it's going to be pumped out of the heart towards the lungs, and it's pumped towards the lungs through a blood vessel called the pulmonary artery.